This is your first basis of logos. The unspeakable name of God. Whether you're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever, just that unpronounceable name. This is where it starts. And when you deal with Daleth itself, see, you actually have to be able to, as we go through these things, remember we went through them little seven triangles in the introduction, yada yada, and it keeps moving and around and stuff. See, that was sort of the basis of this. But this is the beginning of the Tetragrammaton. So you've got Yod, manifestation, Hey, breath, Va, which is basically just eye and ear, and then Hey again, which is the manifest aspect. That's the production of will. So you might say this is the first time where, and we probably won't get through the whole thing today, but I'll do my best. This is the first time you're actually looking at first family. Remember, you had the magician and the priestess, the empress. See, first family. So, well, this is the manifestation of the first family beginning second family. So it's not anywhere near as complex as the book makes it out to be. It's nowhere near as complex. We're going to simplify it a lot. But play with the book a little bit, too. Because when he gets into the second part in lesson 11 and he starts playing with them numbers, and all of a sudden he's using numbers beyond the number 4. You see, basically in dealing with the cards, when we deal with that, gematria aspect and stuff, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 makes 3 plus 1 makes 4, boom, 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 like that. That part there you all got down pretty good the last time, but then he turns around and starts throwing that 5 and 9 at you, and 7 and 8 at you, and stuff like that. And he left out a big space. Big space missing. It all has to be redacted to first family and manifestation. So it always has to be redacted back to 4. Okay? Now, anytime anybody's got a question, you raise your hand, because this is going to get just a little tacky. And I don't care how long it takes. Rather take 3 weeks to do this one concept and get it right, because this is the one that works. The others, the first 3, were the tools that you use to do this. This is manifestation. This isn't. Go ahead, Cindy.
So when you're talking about, when we get into the other numbers, how they have to be retracted back to these numbers, how do we go about that? Is it just the...
It shows you. It shows you right in the book, hon. See, when it goes 5 and 8, you see what I mean? It's 13.
Yes.
You see? Whoops, wait a minute. Let me get it in the right spot here.
Yes.
But it goes 5 and 8 is 13.
Yes.
13 is a 1 and a 3.
Okay.
It makes a 4.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? So
yes.
you have to play with the concept a little bit. It's not mathematics.
Okay.
You see, you always have to be able to play with the concept a little bit. But the important concept right here is the number 4. See, you want to do something. You got consciousness, yad, boom. You got, hey, breath, you're alive. Well, I'm here. You got va. You can see and hear. Then you got the other hey, that's the manifest. Okay, so like when they use the name in Christianity and all the esoteric tests of like Jehovah, Yahweh, any of them, those are all attempts to pronounce this word that we refer to as logos. And it's very, very important to understand logos at this point, because as we get into the rest of it, as you're actually learning how to manifest your will, how you're actually learning not only how to protect yourself and stop other things from interfering with you, but how to actually control lavas, salamanders, and even egregors around you. See, it's very important to get this concept of logos down. Aleister Crowley, the only person ever excommunicated, the only high magician ever excommunicated from the community, the only person that where the consensus of the entire community was to strip him of his power and turn him into an idiot, was because he gave away logos. He gave away logos. And all of a sudden we had a Hitler. We had somebody that could stand up in front of 250,000 people, and it was like mass hypnosis. Logos. Forget about trying to pronounce the word for now, but when a magician wants to do something, that's what he uses, is that word. Okay? 90% of the time it's used, he'll tell you that right in this chapter that we're on, they use it backwards. Because usually when people want to manipulate reality to that extent, it's what we refer to as black magic. Okay? The word is seriously misspelt, the backwards pronunciation of it, for the simple reason that we don't want anybody to know what the word is. Okay? The word's inside you when you get there. The word is inside you when you get there. But it's all about logos. All about manifest. You know. And the word was God. Let there be light. Let there be a planet. Let there be a cow. Let there be a people. See, the word. It was the word. Just like whether it's Buddha saying it, Lao Tse saying it, Jesus saying it. I am the Word. You see what I mean? That's the logos. That's the trick. Irregardless of what the theosophists try to deal with to commercialize things, anything you read by any of these prophets, they are the Word. Logos. The major separation, the first major separation in Christianity was over logos. And you ended up with the Roman Church and the Orthodox Church. That was the first separation, before Martin Luther or any of them guys. The first separation was an argument as to whether or not Christ was divine before birth or achieved divinity after birth. The argument itself is ridiculous, but that was the split. And what brought the split up was the papacy. You see, the Roman Church was saying, oh, well, the Pope is divine. And the Orthodox Church is saying, now wait a minute. Wait a minute. If Logos requires divinity before birth, how can the Pope become divine? Do you see what I mean? That's basically what the argument was. The Virgin Mary part and stuff like that was basically irrelevant in the theosophy. But as you start achieving your growth, you're going to start understanding logos. You may not be able to say it right away, but you're going to start feeling that power of manifestation. And it is critical to keep it in line, whether you want to use the Tetragrammaton, whether you want to use the RNRI, or Rota, or any of the Lao Tzu or Buddhist methods, you're still dealing with four. Still dealing with four. Believe me, that's the real PowerPoint. Four is the PowerPoint, because four is a combination of the consciousness, the throat without a tongue, and the third principle of the first family. Four, that's the manifestation. When you were in the book, and this is the only chart from the book that I'm going to use, when you were doing the book, I'm too lazy to fill them all in, but you can see that this line here is black. Both of these are black, and just that line is black, and these are not colored at all. They're all white. Okay, you remember that from the book? Four crosses. Now, Yad He Vahe. Okay? Okay? It's also Yad He Vahe. One of the things that's really confusing when you deal with that in the book he talks about going the right way or the wrong way. You have to remember the Masoretic itself, Masoretic Aramaic alphabets, Arabic alphabet, left to right. Right to left is backwards. In other words, this is where it's rough in the book. If you go Yad He Vad He, you're doing it backwards. This hay here is the second hay. That's the first one. We don't care which one of these four you're dealing with. Okay? When you're dealing with this first one, and this is where you're gonna follow close. This is where the black is here. It's hay and hay. It's hay and hay. Breath. But when you look at breath as like live. 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 And you manifest. Now, if all you manifest is self, I mean still, that's manifest. You manifest. See? That's to dare. That's where he says, to dare, to know, to keep silent, and then the will to perform. That's the real key. That's the real key. You have to have the courage. Another word for dare. You have to have the courage to do it. And you have to have the courage to do it in such a way that you're not better than the other guy. Just because the other guy's not doing it doesn't mean you're better than the other guy. But you have to be, you have to dare to do it. You have to have the courage to do it. You go like, okay, the most important thing in my life is going to be my spiritual development. You have to dare that. You have to dare to do that. Hay and hay. Breath, the concept. You can call breath, the first hay, the concept of what it is that you want to do. Now, if you were applying this to a material aspect in your space, as long as it wasn't harming anything else, There's nothing at all wrong with that. Hey, I want to do this. Aggie and I were sitting up there for 4 days talking about what the hell we're going to do. We're barely surviving here. We're not giving up any of this. We're not cutting any of this loose. But how can we do it? Oh, we get a motorhome. I've done that. And that's expensive. Motorhomes, they're not expensive to buy. You can get used real cheap, but they're expensive to run. It will cost us just as much as being here, and we'd have to use some kind of big dish on top for the connection. And so we're going, okay, we don't want to do that. And I said, we get horses, but how are you going to carry a dish on a horse? See? And so I said, shit, let's back on a bike. I need to get healthy again anyway. Back on the bike. So come the end of the year, Aggie and I are going to take off on bicycles with real fancy trailers and stuff. And last time I was on a bicycle, I didn't have any trouble doing any of this stuff. I maintained a couple of blogs and boom, boom, boom. I didn't have any trouble. And the type of stuff, the type of Wi-Fi hotspot thing like Alan uses right now is a hell of a lot better than what I had. So everything's going to continue, but we're going to do it on bicycles. So I got no rent, no electric bill, no gas bill. All I got is the block bills. Okay? So that's how we're going to do it. Plus, if the world falls apart, we can still do it on a bike. Hay and hay. Yad, hay, vad, hay. Okay? Consciousness, breath, see and hear what's going on around you, and control it. Yad, hey, vad, hey. Okay? Or you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? 1, consciousness. 2, breath, the throat. Throat, can't breathe without the throat, you know. See and hear, 4. See and hear, 4. The second hay, number 4, you manifest. You have the ability, you think, you see and you hear, and you make it happen. So this one here is understanding the difference between, because they're both the same letter, they're both the same symbol, they're both the same concept. Remember this active-passive part? See, if you go backwards, and over here, you take the manifestation to force the way someone else does something, that is why we call it black magic. But if you get the idea, you see how, and you manifest it without harming anyone, then it's right there. And most of you aren't even going to practice magic. It's going to be little things like, okay, I want to go to Nicaragua to be with Megan while she's down there for a year. So you conceive of it. You see and hear the different ways to do it, and you make it happen. That's in direct relationship to Mike and Megan sitting back here on the sofa. To dare. To have courage. The second one, that's all black, still the same things, still that 1, 2, 3, 4. That one there, you've got all 4 at once. Instead of just the 2 hays, instead of just working with the 2 hays, now you got them all. You got 1, 2, 3, 4 at once. You know. To know. To know. Okay? You're going to go to Nicaragua. Well, you know to go there, you're going to travel a few thousand miles. You know you're going to have a passport. You know. Do you see what I'm saying? This one is to know. It's the knowledge. Knowledge. You can't achieve anything without knowing how to achieve it. Otherwise, it's not going to be what you want. It's going to be something else. It's going to be what somebody else wants. When need all four of them together here. Then you get into the most critical part of any type of hermetic or occult study. Number 3. Yadva. Yadva. You've got consciousness, you see and you hear, but you don't talk about it. You don't talk about it. You know this now. This is the third step. You know this. You've got consciousness, you see and you hear, and you know that you can't tell someone else how to do it, because if you don't make them go through the steps to develop the self-control and to develop that type of balance, whatever point their balance point is, that they're going to abuse it. To be silent. We used to teach a class, actually it was a seminar, a 3-day seminar, Alan's been to a couple of them, called Creating Your Own Reality, where we'd show people within a limited function how they could achieve one thing. I used to make them keep it down, you can't ask for $1 million or anything, but we'd ask them to ask for a material thing, and they'd have to do the altar, little altar we designed, pretty much like the regular hermetic altar. If they did that for 90 days, they would get what they wanted. Now the people that took the trouble to do it, new Jaguar, new Porsche, new house, those are some of the ones. Easy. But after they got that, see, that's why we didn't teach them too much. After they got that, they stopped the rest of their progress. So they got this far. They got that far. They got to where they knew they could do it. But see, they had to pick their thing at the beginning of that seminar, and we designed each one of their little rituals for what they wanted. We didn't tell them how to make it work for anything else. To be silent. But at the time, the concept was that if you, we were hoping that if you could show an individual how to really make it work, that they would continue the process and go the rest of the way. Out of 100 people we run through them things, I think we got 3. Out of 100 we got 3. Maybe 4. To be silent. Have the consciousness, see it and hear it, but don't tell anyone else how to do it until you are capable of knowing that they won't abuse it. Until you are capable of knowing that they would not abuse that. That's the hard one. And this one here, that's real easy. That's real easy. This is where the real manifestation comes in. And that's nothing but what the average human is going to refer to as desire. It's the will to do it. It's the will. So, in order to do something, in order to will, you have to create absolute 100% focus in self. So if you go back to where we talked about the difference between meditation, contemplation, and concentration, in other words, you have to be able to concentrate. Now by the time we finish the second family, on the 6th and 7th Arcanum, you will know how to concentrate. You may not be able to yet, but we'll give you the tricks that allows you to concentrate. Remember, when you're concentrating, somebody could walk up and hit you with a baseball bat and you wouldn't feel it. If you're contemplating or meditating, you'll feel it. If you're concentrating, there ain't nothing but what you're focused on. That's the real key. So learning how to use that will. One of the things you're going to learn as we go through the second family is being able to concentrate on your surroundings. A lot of people, when they first start, they go, well, I'm not interested in concentrating on a picture or a candle or a... The trick is to be able to concentrate on your entire surroundings. To know, keep silent, and to control your surroundings. Now, by controlling them, I don't mean people are supposed to open the door for you and cook you dinner or stuff like that. I mean, I'm talking about controlling the basic circumstances around you. So, concentration means that every little bit of that energy around you, you have to see it, hear it, know it, all at once with the same amount. You can't think about Donald right now, and then think about Cindy a little later, and then think about Kayla a little later, and think about Mike a little later, and think about Megan a little later, and say, oh yeah, I'm focused on all of them. Has to all happen at once. Okay. Is everybody on track with me now? 1, 2, 3, 4. So then, you turn around and you get into the position where, let me get the book and I'll read it. Here it is. This is one place where he said it very, very effectively. Imagine the first family, the first cycle, Yadhe Vadhe, begins to act upon or create another element in the outer surroundings or in the world. In other words, it's the same thing, the will. See, it's starting to manifest something. See? It simply means that one cycle, merely by the fact of its existence, automatically begins the manifestation of the next. A little touchy in there, catching that semantical influence. The rhetoric is easy, but if you do it rhetorically, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You do not concern yourself, what he's trying to deal with, you do not concern yourself with the way something is going to happen. That's the real trick. You can't turn the couple that got the new Porsche and the new Jaguar during those classes, he's a head shrinker and she's a lawyer. And they were young, just starting, they had their house, but they had a great big mortgage. They couldn't afford another $700-800 in car payments. And that's what they wanted. Well, you see, you can't say I want $70,000 for the new Porsche. It doesn't work like this. You say, I want the Porsche. Whether somebody gives it to you or what, I mean, you're not supposed to try and control the method of manifestation. Completing the logos, completing the logos, having the courage, knowing, being silent about it, and having the will for it to happen is what makes it happen. You can't tell it how to happen. That making it happen, that will to make it happen, begins the cycle in the ether. It begins the cycle in the ether all by itself. And as long as you maintain that focus, as long as you keep holding on that focus, and that's what you use any type of meditation, altar, or whatever for, as long as you're holding that focus, It will happen. But you can't tell it how to. If you try to tell it how to, it's not going to work. If you try to tell it how to happen, it's not going to work. The New Zealand couple that's on Saturdays, only because it's like midnight there right now. You know, they reached the point where I said, okay, how far is it to the closest penguin? Yeah. So manifest a penguin. Oh, the penguin may get hurt, but I said, manifest a penguin. Manifest, that's all. Manifest a penguin. Yeah. And 2 weeks later, their son's friend came from out of town and he had his giant stuffed penguin. You know, that was a good enough penguin. That was a good, it's just like when you do the thing with the heat strips on your hand. Just, you know, you want to know you can do that. The only way you know you can do it is to do it. Just manifest a penguin. So, you know, when you're playing with this one here, you create an exercise and you want to manifest something. And make it simple. You know, if you say you want a Porsche, Donald, so when you go back up to Queens, you can zip around in the Porsche, and somebody ends up giving you a little toy car, and it's a Porsche. I'm sorry, but in other words, what I'm saying is don't push the paradigms too hard right at the beginning. So pick something. You know, pick something. But you know, I mean, you can actually do it. It doesn't have to be an etheric thing like the penguin. You may need some scholarship help or something with your studies done. So, okay, do you see what I'm saying? So, do that. Take your time and work it through that, and do it at least twice a day. Won't take long after you do it the first few times. And manifest what that is you want. You got just enough time probably before school. Do you see what I mean? Pick something. Cindy, pick something. Okay? You don't have to do a high-end hermetic altar. Find something to force your focal point. It can be a Christian prayer. It can be a Buddhist meditation. But it has to include the 4 elements. It has to include the 4 elements. You're going to, in other words, it doesn't require them physically, but it's a lot easier if you use the physical mnemonic. But it has to include fire, earth, air, and water. It has to include the 4 elements if you want it to work. That's why on an altar we use a little bell, a little candle, a little incense, and a drink out of the chalice. Most of your religious services do the same thing. The ones that are ritualistically involved. Unity doesn't, but all your Protestant churches, your Catholic churches, your Buddhist churches. So create something where you can enhance, somehow use the 4 elements. Something to make a little sounds for air. We use incense for earth. You know, take a wine glass or something that you're only going to use for that. You know, it doesn't matter if you're drinking water, grape juice, wine, whatever. And put yourself together a little thing. Pick something you want to manifest. How long, with Aggie and I both doing the altar together, a full hermetic altar, with 8 candles. Takes us less than 10 minutes, so any one person could do it in 5. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying blow an hour a day or 2 hours a day. I'm talking about 5 or 10 minutes a day. Pick something easy enough, and make it happen. And we'll walk you through it. We'll walk you through it. As we go through the other aspects of it, we'll walk you through it. You pick something. If it's scholarship, that's totally valid. If it, whatever type of support you might need for school, whatever. You pick something. You go for it. Cindy, you pick something and go for it. And in your case, Cindy, and I very, very seldom would tell someone it's acceptable, it could even be your daughter's health. Do you understand what I'm saying? See, you're not doing any harm. Say, she wants it too. She just doesn't have the focus for it. I mean, she's a young kid, she's in college, and everybody else having a submarine sandwich, I'm having one. And she got burnt out drinking water instead of soda when they were all drinking soda. And do you see what I mean? So, you know, see, you can find something beneficial and not too complex at the same time and manifest that in 2 or 3 months. It's a simple exercise. Really, really encourage you to do it. I know Nancy will do it. I know Nancy will watch the video and she'll do it. I'm sure you will. I'm sure Donna will. It's not that hard. But you've got to push that manifestation. You've got to push it. It has to be knowledge. It can't be belief. It can't be belief. I'm not going to make a magician or a priestess out of you with belief. It doesn't work with belief. You can't even believe me. All you can believe in is yourself. And you only do that to achieve knowledge. In this program here, there's no room for belief. You have to experience everything. You have to experience it one step at a time. A month or 2 from now, people will be going, what happened to you? You've become so self-confident and assertive. That's what it is. That's what it takes. You know, it's not, you know, everybody would like for somebody to just go like that Diksha stuff. Okay, you're all done. I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, it feels good when somebody gives you energy like that. I mean, there's no question that there's a transference there. The only person that can do this is you. No one can do it for you. The only person that can do this is you. And the real trick is understanding those 4 steps, those 4 principles. It's critical. If you do not get that part down, you're not going any further. And it is not hard. It is not hard. If you will do like I ask, just until next Monday, I'm not saying you'll have it manifested by then, just until next Monday, you will feel the difference. You will feel closer to your objective. Your will begin to manifest. You will be aware of it beginning to happen. But first, you have to have the courage to want it. Then you have to know exactly what it is you want. See? You heard the joke about the Arab guy who's out in the Sinai desert and he's crawling. I mean, he's dying, man. He needs something to drink. So I mean, he's dying. I mean, it's, you know, it's a desert. He's so dehydrated and he's crawling. He sees the reflection on a bottle a ways away, and he's hoping there's just a couple of drops in it. And he crawls towards, he gets to the bottle, he finally gets to the bottle. And all he wanted was something to drink. And my God, the bottle's about a third full. And he opens the bottle and this genie comes out. And he goes, and the guy says, you know, you get 3 wishes, man. Thanks for letting me out of the bottle. And he says, but you're a Jew. And he says, yeah, you're an Arab. I can't do anything about it. You let me out the goddamn bottle, you got 3 wishes. What do you want? And he says, I want all I could possibly eat and drink right now. And plop, it's just right there. I mean, there's food and water, and the guy's sitting there drinking and eating, and he's like, oh, man, wow. And the genie's like, hey, dude, come on. I got to get out of here. I'm out of the bottle. I went out. You know, what else do you want? The guy said, well, I guess I want to be wealthy. Boom. There's all this gold coins and stuff all around. And stuff. How are you going to carry it across the desert? Nobody has any idea. But he's got that good, hardcore Muslim morality, you know. And the genie's saying, okay, third wish, man. Your third wish, man. I'm finally free. I've been in here a couple of thousand years. I want to roll, you know? And he says, all right, I want to be surrounded by women. He turned into a tampon. And he goes, what do you do? What do you do? And he says, hey, you told me, you know, I'm a Jew. There's always a string attached. You like that one? I can tell, Cindy, you're going to be able to repeat that one. But you have to know what you want. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't go, I want to be surrounded by women. You might become a tampon. And when he asked for all that gold and wealth and money, he's in the middle of the fucking desert, man. He was dying. He was crawling. He's crawling on his hands and knees. How's he going to get it out of there? Now the food and water made sense. Because he knew exactly what he needed to survive. He needed food and water. See, that was knowledge. That one he knew. The others were like, they did him more harm than good. So that second one, that head, you know, that hard head, and the consciousness and seeing and hearing it, know exactly what it is that you want. But you're going to get it. And you damn sure better make sure you express it and focus on it the right way. But it's critically important to know exactly what you want. See, so in the process of doing this, I imagine I know what you want, Cindy. I imagine I pretty come close to hitting the nail on the head. You may have something even more important than that. But my point is to make absolutely sure that you fully focus on the whole thing. Fully focus on the whole thing. I'm trying to think of practical examples. I'll use analogies. If your request was just for Shauna or even you or whatever, just to lose weight and be beautiful, you may end up looking like a Twiggy with more health problems than the Pope. Do you understand what I mean? If your thing, Donald, is just scholarship funds or something like that, you may end up with scholarship funds, but they may be to Johns Hopkins instead of St. John's. Do you see what I'm saying? you have to really, really create the thought form. I mean, you have to put it together piece by piece by piece by piece. And that's what you're doing with your little fire, earth, air, and water. You're constantly reviewing every little thing until you get it totally in balance and totally within self, and boom. So you have to be careful with it. You have to be careful with it. I had a young lady one time almost kill a couple of people because she got mad at the way the guy was driving, and he had a goddamn blowout. He rolled his car over. Fortunately, nobody died. You see, you have to be careful what you want. But it's real critical that you make this work. Logos. It just means word. It just means word. Logo. So you're going to boil things down in the process of doing this 1, 2, 3, 4. This concept, this desire you're going to manifest, this thing you're going to manifest, it's going to boil down to one word. You're going to end up with one word that will represent that, or one thought, one just. And, you know, you do your thing a couple of times a day, that word will stay with you. That thought will stay with you all day. And that's what will manifest. Exactly that thought. But without doing that fire, earth, air, and water on it, the thing may drift off center. You may end up like the Arab in the desert. See? I mean, he could sit there forever. He had all the food and water he could ever want, and all the money he could ever want, you know, but he couldn't go anywhere because he couldn't carry it with him. So what good was that? He'd been better off dying and getting another body. He'd be better off dying and getting another body. It's too early in the program to come up with something simplistic like happiness. But that's really the goal, to be able to get to that point where you can just go happy. See, that has nothing to do with anything else, but it's everything you could conceivably want, happy. You see? That's the process, that's the goal. But I need you to start by picking one thing that has credence in your space, something missing from your space. Something that would make your space more comfortable. Something that would make you feel better. Something that would make it easier for you to continue this process. Something that would give you the knowledge of self to know that you will get what you will. That's a critical aspect. Question?
So, like, what would be an example of a meditation that would involve the 4 elements?
I surrender the fire energy of my desires to fulfilling this will. I surrender the air energy to it. This is an incense burner, pretty nice. I surrender the earth principle to it. And I surrender the water principle to it. That's what I'm saying. Find a way to incorporate something physical. You know, so all you need is a candle. You can use a birthday candle. You can use a kitchen glass. You don't have to use incense if you want. You can go out in the yard and pick up some dog shit. Well, you need the earth element. But incense ain't very expensive. Okay? And then the water element. We use we use the ritual hermetic drink that's been used for the last few centuries called the Godmother, which is frangelica and vodka. But a bottle of frangelica and vodka lasts us months because, we do one in the morning and one at night. We're going to sit there and drink 4 ounces of vodka and 4 ounces of frangelica in the morning. You wouldn't be very healthy for long. Aggie takes a bottle cap. What she does is she mixes the frangelica and vodka 50-50 in a small bottle. Then she pours that in the bottle cap. So you get that bottle cap, which is about bigger than a tablespoon. Pours it in a thing, and then we fill a glass of water. But we do that just because the thought form behind the drink is pretty powerful in our community. We get a tablespoon of alcohol in the morning and a tablespoon in the evening. Now, if we were actually working with someone that had a serious carcinoma or something like that, the glass is full of the real stuff when we're doing that. But we ain't going anywhere when we're doing that. That's a process that takes days and stuff. So it's the thought form. It's the mnemonic. It's the mnemonic. You see what I mean? You're physically doing it. You're physically doing fire, earth, air, water. You're physically doing it. And that's what's formulating your focus. That's what's pushing the concentration. That's what's allowing you to condense this thing into something that's viable and accurate for you and not something slightly distorted. Okay? So, and you can, remember this, in all these processes, an individual is self. So, you turn around and you can say that's fire as long as you're willing to recognize it as fire. It's fire. But you're going to use the same, you'd have to use it all the time during the process. But do you understand what I mean? It's your process. It's your process. Candle's easy fire. You don't have to do the hermetic pentagram. We do, but you don't have to. You can light a candle and say, fire principle, thank you, Jesus. I want you to really help me with this. Put it out. Air principle, thank you, Jesus. I want you to really help me with this. It's saying what it is you want him to help you with. That's just as effective as any other way. There's no dogma. There's no dogma. Hermetics has nothing to do with any religion. Any religion. The definition of a hermetic, high depth hermetic, is someone that sees auras and is telepathic with the rest of the community. And believe me, we've got Sufis and Muslims and Orthodox Jews and Protestants and Catholics and devil worship and pagans and witch doctors. All a hermetic is someone with that 6th and 7th sense. That's all it is. And to achieve that 6th and 7th sense, we just make sure we filter out the people that may abuse it. And we do pretty good. Makes it a little rough, but we do pretty good. Somebody, I remember, it's been about 5 years ago. I had this gal in Houston, in fact, your hometown, and asked me how to familiarize her cat. Well, as soon as she used the word familiarize, I knew she was playing with the wrong thing. See, in black magic, the witch on the broom, she uses her cat to go out so she can see through his eyes and ears and stuff and spy on people and manipulate things. We don't familiarize animals. Okay? I never talked to her again. Cut her right off. We do a pretty good job of filtering. It doesn't matter your concept of the Godhead. If anybody knew exactly what it was, it'd be nice because it would be easily presented and everyone would immediately go for it. There would only be one religion all of a sudden, which is nice. That's what we're looking for. It's called universal consciousness. You know, we're going to get there sometime. You design your little ritual thing. You got to spend a couple of minutes on it, morning and evening. You design something, as long as it represents fire, earth, air, and water, and assist you in creating the focal point and refining it to the point where it's going to be exactly what you wish, you'll manifest it within 3 months. That's all I'm asking you to do. So, you do not have to deal with the philosophical or theosophical values of any religious philosophy except what you wish. Makes it pretty nice. Makes it pretty nice. Ain't nobody trying to tell you who God is. Ain't nobody can tell you. Ain't nobody can tell you. It's something that happens inside. It's something you recognize when you get to it. And no one's ever been able to pronounce the word. Right? It's that space. It's that space where you just want everything to be one. Any more questions?
Good.
Yeah.
Can I ask one? Just how can you be sure that I guess the ritual or meditation follows the do not harm if you can't affect how it manifests?
Donald, this is difficult but important. You can't be. You cannot be. You can only do the best you can. This week, the last 5 days, while we were up on the mountain trying to hustle up enough money to make things easy, we had a wonderful time. After paying all our expenses, I think we made $30. But it was nice to get out of the house for 5 days. But this guy comes by. One of my customers. This guy's a jeweler himself. He buys quite a few rocks off me. And he's telling us about this thing where you can get this money with no obligation. And I'm saying I can't take it. I can't do it. It's unethical. It's unethical. And he said that there's got to be some kind of scam. I could not rectify it in my head. Now, scholarship money is available. It's there. They're just trying to decide where it goes, and it's just a matter of making them realize that they ought to give it to you. That's not harming anyone. That's not harming anyone. Everything has to come from somewhere. See, everything has to come from somewhere. That's part of that second step of knowing where all the entire cross is black. That's part of that knowing. Where's it coming from? Where's it coming from? It's coming from a scholarship. That's fine. Do you see what I mean? If that's what your thing is going to be. There is no way you're going to follow through on this process and not make a mistake. There's no way you're going to get there and not make a mistake. That's why we start you with these nice little things. So then when you make a mistake and realize that some harm was done, all of a sudden you have knowledge of how that little aspect of thought form works. It won't go into words. There's some things that cannot be put into words. I mean, there's no way to express them. They haven't invented the words for them yet. This little thing that happens in your head, once you learn how to do this little trigger you got, sooner or later, somebody's going to get tweaked a little bit by something that happens, that you made happen while you weren't, without you wanting to do harm. I mean, it's going to happen. then you'll never do it again. You'll just go, whoops, now I know what the old man was talking about. Now I know what the old man was talking about. See, I have a lot of fun when I'm turning around and dealing with a bunch of my people. I go, I never hurt anybody by accident. But I'm talking about this lifetime. I've been in the depths for 7 lifetimes. I made that mistake a long time ago. Once you make the mistake, you'll realize where that point is in self. And it's a feeling thing. There's no way to put it in words. There's just no way to put it in words. But once you experience it, I mean, it really makes you feel like shit. Because you're out there and you're really trying to do good. And all of a sudden you hurt somebody a little bit. But once you get that, once you understand that little feeling thing, once it happens, and the only way you're going to understand it is by it happening once. So that's why we start you off with these little things, they'll be, boom, 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 you play with a couple of things, and all of a sudden, some little bummer will happen. Your mom's car blows up. You know what I mean, breaks down. I don't mean blows up like a bomb. Or something, something happens and you go, oh, that's tied into this. See, that helps you refine your ability at the same time. But the only way to find that peace is to experience it. That's why we start with nice little things. See? The worst thing that could happen if Cindy asked for Shannon's health and all that, which would include losing quite a bit of weight. I mean, she's always going to be a heavy girl. I mean, she's a big boned woman. But to really get over that diabetic potential and stuff, she's going to have to lose weight. But if it ended up costing her best friend,
right?
Do you understand what I'm saying? You see, and the only way you can fine tune these things is once you make that little thing. And it doesn't seem like a lot of harm if something like that would have happened to you, but to a 20-year-old kid in college, it's a major disaster. You see, so, you're going to bump into it. Somewhere not too far down the line. That's why we keep everything simple at the beginning. You can't be sure until it happens. But if all you're asking for is scholarship funds, the worst case scene scenario of a negative you could run into on that, Donald, would be once you get to school and all of a sudden everything's fine, you find out about the person that would have got it if you didn't, and they don't have any ability at all to achieve without it. That's the worst that can happen. And scholarship pursuits are competitive anyway. They're competitive. All you're doing is cribbing. All you're doing is cribbing. All you're doing is cribbing. You're going to turn around, you're going to play with this stuff, Donald. You're going to get in school, you're going to get straight friggin' A's, you're going to be the hottest shot there. I'm telling you. If you allow us to push you along, there's no way to miss. And it just pop. And so you deserve the scholarship. Gives you the ability to help that many more people. It's not your decision whether or not the other person deserved it more. It's the person that gave you the scholarship that made the choice. That's the worst that could happen in this case scene scenario. So there's no real harm possible here with any of these things we're playing with. And it'd be nice, once you make your mistake, that it was something as simple as one of these things. There's no real harm. what I am seeking, what I am asking you to do is to create a knowledge that you did this. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
We want the experience. We want the experience. But you know, you get situations like, you know, you can turn around and go like, man, I really miss Nancy. Like if you'd have done this a few days ago, and she's going to be going down to Galveston, she's going to miss class, and I don't want her to do that. This would be if you already had your will, if you already had these 4 steps down where, see what happens once you get further along is when you will it, it automatically happens. That's why you have to be tapped. See, it starts happening like that, there ain't no 2-3 months involved. Okay? So, well, I really don't want her to go, and all of a sudden her engine blows up and she doesn't have a vehicle.
Oh,
Do you see what I'm saying?
yeah.
And then you go, you know what I mean? I did that. Why did I do that? You see? So that's why we say we don't interfere with other people's will. We try to, interfering with someone's will is generally considered a negative. There are exceptions to every rule. Shauna would be an exception. She wants to do it too. You get a lot of peer pressures. Go, da, 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 and the partying. It's, you know, you're only young once.
Right.
You know, you're only young once. So you're definitely not in violation there. Do you see what I mean? But you can't turn around and say, I want this guy to fall in love with me. That's a violation. That's interfering with their free will, see? You can't interfere with anybody's free will, but you know you're not in that case. So, I mean, everything, you know, I just want you to play with it for a bit. And I want you, and tell Nancy, really, really read that lesson 11, 12, and 13, the heavy number part of this 4th arcana, because next week's going to be all mathematics. And it's crazy mathematics. It's not 1 and 2 is 3. It's not algebra and it's not calculus. It's just crazy mathematics. But once you get your head around it, it's real easy to do. Okay?